encouraged by the truth, your truth found in Scripture. I ask that you may fill me with your Spirit, and I may speak only your words. In Jesus' name, amen. The title of the message is Understanding God's Ways. You know, as we look at the life of Joseph, I've mentioned this over and over again, that the life and the story of Joseph that started in Genesis chapter 37 and ends at Genesis chapter 50 is not about Joseph. We have to be very clear on that. It's totally not about Joseph. We see in Genesis chapter 37, Joseph having a dream, and in that dream, he saw his brothers and his father bowing down to him. His father and his brothers got angry at him. His brothers got so angry that they wanted to kill him. Especially after Joseph made choo-choo, squealed on the brothers. And to show the favoritism, Jacob made a multicolored coat to symbolize that Joseph was indeed his favorite child. And because of that, the brothers were so angry, they wanted to kill him. But eventually they sold him into slavery. Despite the fact that he was in the pit crying out, begging his brothers to feed him, they did not listen. In chapter 38, there was a strange jump, because all of a sudden in chapter 38 of Genesis, they were discussing about Judah. How Judah slept with a prostitute, Tamar, who happens to be his daughter-in-law. And we saw how wretched Judah was. By the way, Judah was one of those who said to put Joseph to death. In chapter 39, we see Joseph ending up in the house of Potiphar, and there he did very well, and that he was promoted eventually. But the wife wanted to go to bed with Joseph, and Joseph resisted that. And because of that, the wife came up with a false charge that Joseph tried to rape the wife of Potiphar, which is not true. Potiphar put Joseph to jail. In jail, by God's providence, in Genesis chapter 40, what happened was the cupbearer and the bread maker of Pharaoh was also in that jail. He interpreted his dreams, their dreams. One will die, one will be raised up. Indeed, it happened. And Joseph said, just remember this. Mention me to Pharaoh. He was forgotten. 2 years passed, in fact, before Pharaoh indeed had a dream. And there in the dream, no one could interpret it. Now the cupbearer remembered Joseph and told Pharaoh, Pharaoh, there's this guy in jail with me who's able to interpret dreams. And Pharaoh said, okay, call the guy. Joseph came. He interpreted the dream. And Pharaoh was so pleased, he promoted him second in command. And as I mentioned, typically people would think that that was the big payday. That is the climax of the story of Joseph. Joseph remained faithful throughout the end, at the end, God rewards him with position, power, and wealth. He married into the second most powerful priest in the land. He was the second most powerful person apart from Pharaoh. He had the seal of Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, everything's under you apart from my life. But the governance of the whole place is under you. And people would say, be like Joseph. Remain faithful, and eventually God will reward you. But I repeat, that is not the point. In fact, as I mentioned, in the New Testament, when they referred about Joseph, there was no reference of this ascent to power and wealth and greatness. All of that was a sideline to the real purpose of the life of Joseph. And the real purpose of the life of Joseph was to protect the seed, which is Judah. And we saw last week in Genesis chapter 42, when there was a famine, Jacob told his kids to go to Egypt to buy some food. And there, Joseph recognized them. No one could recognize Joseph. Why? The last time they saw him, he was 17 years old. 17 years old, and they thought he was dead. Not only that, he spoke Egyptian. In fact, when he was speaking to them, he was speaking through an interpreter. He dressed like an Egyptian. Not only that, he had an Egyptian name. No way could they realize that the guy in front of him, the second most powerful guy in Egypt, was his brother. And what Joseph did was he tried to test, has my brother changed? And I was saying last week, when the brothers came, Joseph counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Where is Benjamin? That was the biggest question in the mind of Joseph. Where is Benjamin? Because Joseph was the son of Rachel. And Rachel only had 2 kids, Joseph and Benjamin. And Joseph knew. And Jacob never really considered his kids with Leah his kids. That's why there was jealousy. Now Joseph knew what they did to him, being the favorite child of the beloved wife, Rachel. They tried to kill him. Now that his brothers are back, there's this sinking feeling inside Joseph. Did they do the same to Benjamin? Why are you only 10? He didn't say that, but he knew that. At the back of his mind, he knew that there was one lacking. And the one lacking is his full brother. And he wanted to know, is my brother still the same? And he gave some tests to check if they have changed. First, is anyone willing to go back? Because Joseph accused them, you're spies. You're spies. You're dead. Now, to prove that you're not spies, get your youngest brother. No connection. He was just trying to find out an excuse why, to see if his brother's alive. Okay, is anyone willing to go? Pick them up. No one was willing to go. Alright? Is anyone willing to stay? One will stay, all will go. No one was willing to stay because realize, if for you to volunteer yourself to stay, you have to trust your brothers that they will get back to you. That they will pick you up, right? If not, why would I want to stay here in the house of the most powerful man being accused of treason, of spying. What if you don't come back to me? Guess what? No one wanted to volunteer. They were placed in jail for 3 days, and after 3 days, no one wanted to volunteer. And Joseph said what? Okay, Simeon, you stay. And he said, unless you come back here with your youngest brother, he will not be released. Guess what? They never came back for his brother. Until the grain ran out. If not for the grain running out, they would never go back. So Simeon was shackled in front of the brothers. And try to imagine what was in the mind of Simeon at that time. They went back to their father and told the situation to the father. And the father was so disgruntled. And they're saying, we need Benjamin to pick up Simeon. Because the man that we met demands that you bring Benjamin, your youngest brother, lest you are spies. Jacob said, no way. Let Simeon die. I will not give Benjamin. He's my only child left. Imagine your dad is saying that, knowing that the 10 other guys there are, he said, this is my only child left, why would I give it to you? He is saying that you're not my children. Simeon is not my child. Jacob does not trust his kids. Benjamin does not trust his siblings. So when we look at the life in Genesis chapter 40, we see the brothers failing in all the tests that Joseph gave. No one wanted to go. No one wanted to stay. There was no leader. There was no love. There was no trust. It was total shambles. And now we go now to Genesis chapter 43 and 44. It's the longest passage I've ever preached. 2 chapters. Verse 1 says, now the famine was severe in the land, and when they had eaten the grain that they had brought from Egypt, the father said to them, go again, buy us a little food. Buy us a little food. You know, Jacob, all of a sudden, naubos na yung food. He was so casual. He was saying, come on guys, let's now buy some food. We are run out of grain. Think of it. There was no plan to rescue Simeon. Jacob was not thinking about Simeon. He was long gone. In his mind, maybe they were just waiting. Maybe the famine would end. And they don't need to pick up Simeon or go back to Egypt. But the problem was, there's a big elephant in the room. Verse 3. But Judah said to him, all of a sudden in Genesis chapter 43, we see a leader. When in chapter 2 there was no leader, here in chapter 43, a leader rises up to the occasion. Judah. But Judah said to him, the man solemnly warned us, saying, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you will send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. He reminds Jacob, Dad, no way will we go there. Remember, that's what the man said. You will only come back here with your youngest brother. How do you expect? So if you don't give us Benjamin, there's no point in going to Egypt. They will not sell us. any grain. That's the problem. Verse 5, Israel. All of a sudden, the Bible calls Jacob Israel, the covenantal name. Why did you treat me so badly as to tell the man that you had another brother? The blame game has not yet stopped. Jacob was saying, why did you tell them that you had a brother? Now he's asking for a brother. He's now blaming Judah and the other brothers for bringing that situation to them. Verse 7, they replied, the man questioned us carefully about ourselves and our kindred, saying, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? What we told him was in answer to this question. Could we in any way know that he would say, bring your brother down? By the way, Joseph never asked that question. Remember during 42, the brother were saying, we're not spies. We are honest men. Call us anything, but we're not spies, but honest. Yet here, the honest men are lying again. That information that they had a brother was given freely because they were panicking. Because Joseph was not letting them go. Joseph was pressuring them, interrogating them, and to appease Joseph, they were just blotting out facts. That's why he discovered that they had a brother. Verse 8, and Judah said to Israel, his father, send the boy with me, and we will rise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and you and all our little ones. Judah makes a plea. Send Benjamin, lest all of us, not just you, not just me, but our whole tribe, even the little ones. We will all die. Verse 9, I will be a pledge of his safety. From my hand you shall require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. If we did not delay, we would have returned twice. Note, Judah was willing to go. In the first test that Joseph gave his brothers, no one was willing to go. Here, Judah was willing to go. He was willing to go and make the journey. Unlike Reuben, remember Reuben, when he was convincing his dad to take Benjamin, what was the guarantee? Reuben said, you can take 2 of my kids. If I don't go back, you can kill them. Jacob said, okay, that's your kids, but I will not sacrifice another kid of mine. But in the case of Judah, he said, no. Not my kid is the guarantee. My life is the guarantee. I will go. Verse 11. Then their father Israel said to him, if it must be so, then do this. Take some of your choice fruits of the land in your bag and carry a present down to the man. A little balm, a little honey, gum, myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Take double the money with you. Carry back with you the money that was returned to the mouth of the sack. Perhaps it was an oversight. To order to smoothen out the negotiation, Israel said, try to bring other stuff, lest the man gets angry to you. Not only that, return double. Bring honey, gum, pistachio nuts, almond. All these valuable things. As an offside, on the side and trivial on the side. Since last night and this morning, and this is just really on the side, there's apparently a theory going around, which I think to be very interesting. But don't take it as a biblical truth, okay? Just an interesting. That Eden, Garden of Eden, is in the Philippines. I sent you the video, no? You saw it? Yeah. And the scientific facts seems to be interesting. I said on the side. And I'm studying it, and it's try to study it. It's interesting, but that has no biblical significance really. It's more of a historical blah blah. Now, in verse 13, he says, "Take also your brother and arise, go again to the man." You remember in Genesis chapter 42, Jacob did not trust Reuben and the brothers. In Genesis chapter 43, Jacob now trusts Judah to give his son Benjamin to his care. Again, Judah passed the test where his brothers failed. Because Benjamin was with them, his beloved son, Judah now prays. Jacob now prays. "And may God Almighty grant mercy before the man, and may he send you back your other brother, and Benjamin. As for me, for I am bereaved of my children, I am bereaved." In Genesis chapter 42, when Reuben and the whole brothers left for Egypt to buy grain, guess what? Jacob never prayed for them. But here, because Benjamin is with them, he's outside praying for them. Clearly, there's a favoritism towards Benjamin. Verse 15. "So the man took this presents, and they took double the money with them and Benjamin. They arose and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the stewards of the house, 'Bring the men to the house and slaughter an animal and make ready for the men are to dine with me at noon.' The man did as Joseph told him and brought the man to Joseph's house." I mean, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of travelers to Egypt buying food. To be plucked out from that group and brought to the house of the second most powerful man whom you know you have an atraso with, what would you feel? Patay. May wanted poster pala ako dito sa Egypt. Right? Now they've spotted us. I'm sure they can only imagine the worst intentions and the worst scenario. What can they do? If they don't go to Egypt, they'll die of hunger. Now they're in Egypt. They've been spotted. Verse 18. "And the men were afraid because they were brought to Joseph's house. And they said, it is because of the money, because we stole. Now we're dead. Which was placed in our sacks the first time that we were brought in, so that they may assault us and fall upon us to make us servants and seize our donkey." They have an idea why they were captured and brought. It's because of the thievery that they did. Verse 19. "So they went to the steward of Joseph's house and spoke with him at the door of the house." Before they enter, the brothers said, "Come on, let's talk to the guy before he brings us in, because once we're in, we're really dead." So while they're still outside, maybe it's like before taking us to jail, I'll talk to the police. "Manong police, let me tell you my story before you bring us to jail." That's why they spoke to him before they entered the house and said, "Oh my Lord, we come down the first time to buy food, And when we came to the lodging place, we opened our sacks, and there was each month's money in the mouth of his sack. Our money is full of weight. So we went and brought it again with us. And we have brought other monies down with us to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sack. He was explaining already. Boss, I'm not really guilty, ah. Just wanted you to know. We're not guilty. The man, he replied, peace to you. Do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has put treasures in your sack for you. I received your money. Weird, no? For the Egyptian guy, they said, don't worry. It is God who placed that in your sacks. You know what that tells us? There's no accidents in God. There is no mischances. There is no coincidence. That God is always working behind the scenes. Even if we don't understand it. Verse 23, he replied, verse 24, and when the man had brought the men into Joseph's house and given them water, and they had washed their feet, and we had given their donkeys fodder, they prepared the presents for Joseph coming at noon, for they heard that they would eat bread there. Verse 26. Can you imagine the wait for Joseph, right? Wow. It's like saying, all right, the last time in Davao, you came here, you stole money from Duterte. You now come back to Davao, guess what? The PSG got you, and Duterte wants to talk to you. Oh, no. How can this be good? So you spoke to Bongo. Bongo, you know what? Really, we did not steal money. We really did not. Basta, pasok kayo. That's the scenario here. So when Joseph came home, they brought into the house to him the present that they had with them and bowed down to him to the ground. And inquired about the welfare and said, is your father well, the old man of whom you spoke? Is he still alive? They said, your servant, our father, is well. He is still alive. And they bowed their heads and prostrated themselves. You know, that's very typical. In times of catastrophe, in times of famine, the first people to go are the old people and the young people. So that's normal for Joseph to ask. So how's your father? But really, how's that? Is he still alive? And they said, yes, he is. 29, and he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin. So clearly, he was looking down on them because they were prostrated, talking to Joseph in fear. So when Joseph was talking to them, oh, how's your father? They were like this, our father is okay. He's doing fine. Then he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, is this your youngest brother of whom you spoke to me? God be gracious to you, my son. Then Joseph headed out, for his compassion grew warm for his brothers, and he wept at the place. And he entered his chamber and wept there. I mean, this was a very emotional moment for Joseph. Because that was his greatest fear. Is Benjamin still alive? That was his question in Genesis chapter 42. Or did my brother also kill him? And seeing Benjamin alive, he was overwhelmed with emotions that he cried and wept. The problem is he can't show people that he cried and wept. That's why he went to the room, and after that, to show he didn't cry, what do people do? They wash their face, di ba? Para lang hindi halata na you cried. Oh, that's what Joseph did. 31. Then he washed his face and came out. So it's the same technique. And controlling himself, he said, serve the food. They served him by himself, and them by themselves, the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because Egyptians could not eat with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptian. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to the birthright, and the youngest according to the youth. And the men looked at one another in amazement. The brothers, all of a sudden, was amazed, was perplexed. Why? Because they were able, Joseph was able to set them according to age. Oldest to youngest, and they were amazed. How would he know? But he was not telling. Okay, you. Huh? Is this coincidence? No. Joseph knew. He knew his brothers naman eh. That's his brothers, right? Then, 34, portions were taken to them from Joseph's table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. What did Joseph do? He fed everybody a lot, but gave Benjamin what? 5 portions. Why? He wanted to test them. Will they be jealous also to Benjamin? Because that's what happened. In the case of Joseph, it was a coat. In the case of Benjamin, it is 5 more portions. Will the brothers take that against Benjamin? In the meantime, they drank and were merry with him. The word there, they drank, means they drank and got drunk and merry with him. They feel relieved. There's no problem. Let's get drunk. In fact, they did get drunk and were merry. Pare, okay pala si Joseph eh. Whoever his name, okay sa Egypt. Wow, is this normal ba? Is this a normal thing? And the wine was coming in. And I was just imagining maybe Reuben is dancing on the table. And everybody, because they brought out Simeon, and Simeon must be so happy. Bro, yeah, thank you for coming back. Hindi niya alam, naubusan lang kami ng grain eh. Kung hindi kami naubusan, patay ka talaga eh. Right? They really got drunk. And it was intentional. Joseph got them really drunk. You know why? To plant, to set them up for another test. Chapter 40, verse 1. While they were drunk, ako na nagsabi nun. Then he commanded the stewards of the house, fill the man's sack with food, as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of the sack, and put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, Benjamin, with his money for the grain. And he did as Joseph told him. He was setting them up. He placed his silver cup in Benjamin's to see if crisis comes, will they drop Benjamin as much as they drop him? Verse 3. As soon as morning was light, sarap. Had a great party, was drunk, a little hangover, but that's fine. The men were sent away with their donkeys, full of cash, full of grain. Maybe the brothers were congratulating themselves. Yes, successful trip. We got our grain, we have our cash, we got great food, we got drunk. We're going to Dad with Benjamin with me as promised, and with Simeon with me. And me and Joseph, we're like that. We're tight. Verse 4. They had gone only a short distance from the city. Now Joseph said to his stewards, up, follow after the men. And when you overtake them, say to them, why have you paid evil for good? Is it not from this that my Lord drinks? And by this that he practiced divination? You have done evil in doing this. That was the script. It was planted. Pinaraan ng pulis, nagplant ng shabu. O, de patay. Right? It was a planted thing. Verse 6. When he overtook them, he spoke to them these words. I mean, nothing sobers a person faster than a loud siren. Wah, 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 wah. Oh, pinapapara tayo ng polis. What's up? Nothing to get worried, right? Verse 7, they said to him, why does the Lord speak? What verse did I end? 6, yeah. He said, when he overtook them, he spoke to them these words. They said to him, why does my Lord speak such words as this? Far be it from your servant to do such a thing. Why do you accuse us of that? Behold, the money that we found in the mouth of your sack, we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. How then could we steal silver or gold from your Lord's house? Whichever of our servants is found with it shall die, and we will be our Lord's servants. They were confident. Yep, we did not steal anything, and if you find it in any of us, okay, that person will die. The rest of us will all be slaves. Okay, that's fine. We're okay with that. They were confident. Verse 10, he said, let it be as you say. He who is found with it shall be my servant, and the rest of you innocent. Note, the servant changed. Because the brother is saying, the one that you find will be put to death, and all of us will be slaves. But the servant knew the intent of the master to plant the cup to Benjamin. That's why he changed. Instead of him dying, sabi niya, no. The one that we catch, he'll just be a slave. Because, if I say, okay, we'll kill, then Joseph will not agree. Okay, then you guys will be free. Okay? And he searched beginning with the eldest and ending to the youngest. So they went. Reuben, open your bag. La, da, da. None. Right? Okay, Simeon, open your bag. Da, da, da. None. Judah, open your bag. Da. None. Last. Everybody's comfortable. Last. Wala bang nagnakaw eh. Benjamin, open your bag. And the cup was found in Benjamin's side. All of a sudden, a sinking feeling. And the cup was found in Benjamin's side. Then they tore their clothes, and every man loaded his donkey. And they returned to the city. I mean, they tore their clothes. They were grieving. I mean, the thing there is, they really can't remember. They were drunk. That's why they were able to plant the cup, because they were all drunk during that time. And now, they couldn't believe it. Patay. Of all people, Benjamin, the one that Dad loves, the one that Dad doesn't want to let go. Among all people, he's the one that got caught. He's the one that will be a slave forever. It's hard for them to ascertain really what happened because they were drunk. The question is, will they dump Benjamin? knowing that he's the favorite of Joseph, and apparently he's the no, knowing the fact that the favorite of Jacob, and apparently the favorite of Joseph also by giving him 5 portions. Magkakalaglagan na ba dito? Verse 14. And when Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. Because he knows the script eh. He knew it naman from the start. He was planning it. So sabi niya, okay, alis ka na. Within 1 hour, nandito ka na, right? They were just there eh. So he was there. They fell before him to the ground. Joseph said to them, what deed is this that you have done? Do you not know that a man like me can indeed practice divination? And Judah, rising to the occasion, said, what shall we say to you, my lord? What shall we speak? Or how can we clear ourselves? God has found out the guilt of our servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants. Both we and we also, in whose hand the cup has been found. But he said, far be it from me that I should do so. Only the man whose hand the cup was found shall be my servant. The other brothers all voted, okay, Joseph, all of us are servants. Joseph said, no. Only the guy that has the cup will be my servants. All of you can go back. But as for you, go up in peace to your father. Joseph was really setting them up. Verse 18. Then Judah went to him and said, clearly, Judah is now the leader. Before this, Judah was never mentioned. The last time the name of Judah was mentioned was Genesis chapter 38. And what happened in Genesis chapter 38? He raped Tamar. The next time is this. When he rises up to become the leader of the clan. So Joseph rises up and went to him and said, O my Lord, please let your servant speak a word in my Lord's ear, and let not your anger burn against your servant, for you are like Pharaoh himself. By the way, this is the longest speech in the Bible. My Lord asked his servant, saying, have your father or a brother? And we said to the Lord, we have a father, an old man, and a young brother, the child of his old age. His brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him. Then you said to your servant, bring him down to me, that I may set my eyes to him. We said to the Lord, the boy cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. Then he said to your servant, unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you shall not see him again. Remember in Genesis chapter 37, Judah did not even care about Jacob. Now in Genesis chapter 42, Judah cares and loves Jacob. Verse 24. When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him the word of my Lord, and when our father said, go again and buy us a little food, he said, we cannot go down. If our youngest brother does not go with us, then we will go down. For we cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Then your servant, my father, said to you, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One left me, and I said, surely he has been torn to pieces. That was Joseph. And I have never seen him since. If you take this son also from me, and harm happens to him, you will bring down my gray hair in evil to Sheol. Now therefore, as soon as I came to your servant, my father, and the boy is not with us, then, as his life is bound up in the boy's life, as soon as he sees the boy is not with us, he will die. And your servant will bring down the gray hair of your servant, our father, with sorrow and Sheol. For your servant became a pledge of safety for the boy to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I shall bear the blame before my father all my life. Now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the boy as the servant to my Lord. And let the boy go back with his brothers. For how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I fear the evil that would find my father. Note, Judah was willing to stay. He was willing to make the great exchange. At this crucial moment, Judah steps forward and takes full responsibility to the pledge that he gave to his father to give up his life if something happens to Benjamin. Remember in Genesis chapter 42, Joseph wanted to know, is Benjamin still alive? Joseph said, will any one of you volunteer to go? And no one volunteered to go. Will any one of you volunteer to stay? No one volunteered to stay. Will any of you guys go back for your brother Simeon? No one went back for their brother Simeon. Does your brother trust you, Benjamin? No. Does your father Jacob trust you? No. All the brothers failed all the tests that Joseph gave. But in Genesis chapter 43 and 44, we see Judah passing all the tests. So Joseph asked, is Benjamin still alive? Yes, he's alive. In fact, he is with me. Will one of you volunteer to go? I did. I brought my brother with me. I was willing to go. Will any one of you be willing to stay? Yes, I offer to stay in exchange for Benjamin. Will any of you go back for your brothers? Yes, I came back for my brother Simeon. That's why I'm here. Does your father trust you? Yes. That's why he gave Benjamin to me. Does Benjamin trust you? Yes. He is right beside me here. And Jacob and Judah is now declared the head of the family. It might have taken time, but God was able to transform the chosen family of Israel. And how did he use it? He used famine. And he used Jacob's test to bring about the transformation of Israel and Judah. Remember, God used famine and testing to transform the lives of Israel and Judah. What does that mean? God will use similar trials and tribulations in our life to transform us. We think transformation is learned through Bible studies. No. Well, partly yes. The renewing of the mind. Sabi nga, faith not tested is not worth trusting. Transformation happens through testing of our faith. Here we now see Judah being the head of the family. I mean, who could have imagined this, right? The guy who wanted to kill Joseph is now the head of the family. That's why we see the story of Joseph is not about Joseph. Joseph going up the ranks in Egypt was not a reward for his faithfulness. It was necessary for the protection of the seed. Can you see how dynamic God works? How the work of God is far-reaching? Joseph is not the promised seed. He is only the protector of the seed. And the story of Genesis chapter 38, wherein Joseph slept or raped Tamar, was simply to show how far Joseph has traveled. From a wretched person to now the promised seed that will now lead the family of Israel. And you know what blows my mind about this? Judah is the promised seed. And the mother of Judah is Leah. What? Not Rachel. The woman that Joseph was tricked into marrying. The woman of the wife of obligation, the unloved wife. The rejected wife and the rejected kid. The seed is with them. It's not with the beloved Rachel. It was not with Joseph. It was not with Benjamin. And diba, it seems that Jacob was tricked into marrying Leah, right? For 7 years he served thinking that it was Rachel. Then in the wedding night it was Leah. It was part of the plan of God. Because the seed will be coming through Leah, not through Rachel. Sometimes we think mistakes and accidents in life are mistakes and accidents of life. But not with God. Our mistakes and our accidents can indeed be part of the plan of God. The plan of God will not fail and will never fail. Despite the fact that Israel's family was dysfunctional. There was favoritism. The sons was wreaking murders. There was incense. There was deceit. There was kidnapping. Yet God was able to redeem and transform them, not because of who they are, but because of who God is. There's nothing worth commending with Jacob. Nothing worth commending with Judah. In fact, sabi ko nga, the one that should be commended is Joseph. But Jacob I love, Esau I hate. It's God's sovereign will to decide whom He will choose. Not because of merit, but because of grace. Unmerited, undeserved grace. So that the glory would be on God and God alone. And the only reason why Jacob and his family was protected is because the seed will pass through them and the eventual Redeemer will pass through their line. Apart from that, they would have died also. There would be no protection. God has not left the protection of the seed and the salvation of His people to chance. God is in full control. Do you see the big picture? How God was in control all this time? We thought everything was going amiss. And we get distracted with the world. And we forget the purpose. The purpose is the redemptive story of mankind. That is the purpose of Genesis. That is the purpose of the life of Joseph. To continue the redemptive story and the protection of the seed until the ultimate seed will come. I don't know what you're going through right now in life. There might be no rhymes or reason. People around you who are supposed to be Christians are not acting like one. They might be acting like Judah, like Reuben, like Jacob. But the promises of God will never fade. The plans of God can never be thwarted by evil men. Jeremiah 29 verses 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." It might not make sense. In Psalm 73, right? The psalmist was complaining, "Lord, this life makes no sense. I'm faithful, but I'm struggling. Why are those who are not faithful prospering? They're the one getting fat. They're the one who has the power. They're the one who has the friends. I'm forgotten and a nobody." What did God respond in Psalm 73 verse 17? "Until I went to the sanctuary of God, then I discerned their end." God said, do you know the ending? Before we complain about our life, the question is, do you know the ending? Because in the ending, God will prove to be faithful. That's the ending. And you will thank Him. We will be regretful. "Lord, sana you showed me the video that I can see the ending." Sabi dito, "Until I went to the sanctuary of God, then I discerned their end." They went to hell. I'm with God in heaven. When things does not make sense in life, like the life of Joseph, like the life of Judah, hold the hand of God and trust Him and never let go. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. Let's not try to understand. Let's just be faithful to Him. Thus says the Lord. Amen. Our last song.